Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to be talking about Mullen, trading under the ticker symbol MULN. So Mullen has been a very exciting and interesting stock to trade, with a high volatility providing opportunities and also many ongoing projects that may fuel the speculations about it in the years to come. At the same time, it's having a hard time proving to the market that it is a serious company that's, investors should put their money into for the long term. So in today's video, we're going to go through the latest, the price action, the developments, and my analysis, as well as recommendation to see if you should be buying Mullen. So as always, if you appreciate what I do, please consider to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and check out the links down in the description. Just a brief disclaimer before we begin. So what is in my video is usually my opinion or interpretations on how things are or will be. They're not investment advice and should be watched for entertainment purposes only. They might be able to help you make better decisions, but they shouldn't be used as the only material that you look at before you make that decision. My analysis is done usually in the immediate past or just a few days before the uploading of the videos. And by the time that you see it, sometimes it's no longer what the charts currently show. But this is okay because the past is still relevant and we're not doing day trading. So, for trading purposes, that's going to be happening over a few weeks. Even if it's not like the latest up-to-date price action, usually it's still relevant for the decision making. Also, the analysis will try to cover the stock as comprehensively as possible, and we're going to take a deeper dive than just the latest news or the price actions. So for example, we might talk about the company's financials, the stock market trends, the long-term perspectives, if there's any, and the shareholder behaviors. These are all going to affect how much we want to buy, if we want to buy it, and when we're going to buy it. Since most viewers would be watching the videos for the first time, it is very important for them to consider all these factors. So with that being said, let's begin with today's topic. So Mullen is an EV company that has been, operating for several years since 2014, and it has several brands under its umbrella. The latest ones would include Bollinger and Last Mile Service. So the company began operating around 2014 as a successor to the previous venture called Mullen Automotive. Another previous venture was called Mullen Motorcars back in 2004, and they were developing one of the world's earliest EV supercars back in 2007. Now, these ventures didn't really succeed over time, and we can say that maybe it's been around the block for a while. We can also say that they have accumulated some experience in the field. Now, whether this experience is always useful is up to you to decide. Personally, I believe that, to say the least, they have accumulated enough experience to know where not to go, but I'm not sure that they know where to go. This is the first thing. The other thing is, we should ask ourselves the question whether Mullen will have a future to begin with, because this is a competitive and capital-intensive field with a lot of things that are still in the development, and a lot of companies are also trying to find their way in the dark because there is no beaten path just yet. There are some long-term challenges that keep the valuation high, or as high as possible, because right now they're viewed as tech company, or they're viewed as growth stocks, which means they get the same treatment as the Silicon Valley startups. Now, how long before this is going to change? Is it going to change? Is it going to be reclassified as industrial companies? If that's the case, they would have far lower valuations. So there is this and these factors that currently hold some of those companies down. For Mullen, there's also one other specific factor. The track record of the company, or more precisely, the CEO himself. He does have a track record that suggests that he tries to, create companies, create a few PowerPoints, try to develop a protocol, and then move on to the next thing when he sees that this has lost momentum. In a way, some people have compared it to Ideanomics. I don't know if any of you remember this company. Basically, it's a company that buys, different kinds of companies. A few years ago, they bought fintech companies, and now they're buying EV companies. And to some extent, they are trying to ride different waves. Of course, in the case of Mullen, they haven't really ridden other waves. So there are still some differences. But still, with a market cap that small, we're in our right to ask ourselves if Mullen has the capacity to scale up any sort of production, or they're just going to be hustling shareholders' money. And also, they have some pretty dubious associates of his who are shareholders of Mullen. And for more details, I would say that it's better for you to check out Hindenburg Research's opinion on Mullen. It doesn't mean that what they say is going to be true, but they should at least be elements for consideration. Now, over the past few days, Mullen has been through a relatively rough patch, but there is a silver lining to this, and I'm going to come to that in about a second. Basically, the stock initially went from 26 cents all the way up to 55. Of course, considering that this stock has been in the $10 level for many years, I'm not sure how much of a consolation this really is, but for me, it kind of was. I was trading Mullen when it was below $1, and at the time made a quick gain. It doesn't mean that this is always going to happen, but this is the kind of volatility that we can expect with penny stocks like this, or at least, in the penny stock levels, because I'm not sure if Mullen is going to remain in that category for long. So Mullen has been, treading around the 20 cents level. Sometimes it's below, sometimes it's above. Now, this sell-off is probably caused just by additional shorts, and also because people don't necessarily have a lot of faith in the long-term potentials of Mullen to begin with. All these reasons are also compounded by the fact that Mullen is going to sell additional shares. Now, I don't think that they've started to sell the bulk of them just yet, but even the announcement kind of spooked a lot of people, with reason, because if they keep diluting the shareholders, the money that you're going to be putting in is going to be worth less. That's all it means. It also means that this company is not making any money for the time being, so the only thing that they can do is to ask for more money from the shareholders. Now, despite this, I want to say that the fact that they've been hovering around the 20 cents level for a few days now can be a good thing. It should mean that this is kind of sort of like a short-term support level that people can rely on. So over the long term, it's definitely been a toilsome journey for shareholders who have been holding Mullen for a few years. The stock has been trading for, between $5 to $10 for many months and years before peaking around the $15. And now it has fallen back to the penny stock level. What this tells us is that it's been hard hit by the ongoing stock market downfall, and also due to the lack of fundamental strength that a company has. So recently, the CEO tries to change this assessment or this judgment from the market, but it hasn't reached a very convincing level yet. So this still explains why I would recommend to trade the stock instead of investing it. Although I want to say that the EV sector is a very dynamic and young sector, so the idea of investing in Mullen also shouldn't be completely ruled out. So online communities are relatively skeptical about Mullen. Actually, it's quite contradictory. So there's a part of community who believes that this stock is done for. Another part that believes that, well, actually, this is only the beginning of something great. and that the current opportunity allows people to buy in cheap. Now, I would say that for the second part, there's some truth to that, because we are pretty close to the historical low, if not at the historical low. So, we can make a case to say that, yes, if you buy in now, as long as the company doesn't go bankrupt, there's only one way forward, which is up. So, I would give some credit to that theory. But the thing is, the company doesn't seem to be in good shape at the moment. And recently, they were supposed to deliver like a few vehicles to a client. And this transaction, first of all, I'm not sure that it happened. And second of all, even it happened, it didn't really have a huge impact on people. So this is why I would say that for now, the mood is pretty low, or the morale is pretty low for Mullen, but it doesn't mean that it's going to stay there. And even if it goes bankrupt, let's say that, it's going to go chapter 11 a few months or years from now, as long as you control the position at a reasonable level, it's going to be fine. On the other hand, what if it goes a few X's from 20 cents? What if it actually manages to roll out a model? What if the IGO distribution goes well? What if, in light of all these, the shorts are going to be squeezed? And we're going to talk about, the shorts. Actually, we're going to talk about it now. There is a huge catalyst, or a potential catalyst, regarding Mullen. It has a lot of short positions that eventually have to recover. Now, hopefully, those short positions want to see the stock as low as possible before they recover. That's how they make the money. They make the money between the difference of like when they dump the shares in the market and when they buy it back. And as long as those positions remain open, they have to borrow shares, and they have to pay like financial fees to brokers who lend them those shares in the first place. And because of this, if the price goes up, they would almost be compelled to redeem those shares. So this is why a lot of people want to get in. This is also why a lot of people don't want to sell, because if they sell now, it just gives more ammunition to those who want to push the stock lower. Now, personally, I do have a position in Mullen. It's probably down by like 50 to 60%, but because of the position size, it doesn't really matter. I think that I've put in, less than 0.1% of my portfolio for the time being. And, I would say that the assertion that there's going to be a short squeeze eventually still stands. So this is why I would say that on one hand, it's very important to control how much you buy and how much you sell. So that's first thing. The second thing is you should remain calm when things get rough. And actually, it's like one feeds the other. So the position size is going to help you to stay calm. It's not going to cause you to lose any sleep because, let's say you've refinanced your house and put everything into penny stocks, such as Mullen. Well, I'm really not sure that you're going to be able to stay very calm if it's down by like 60%, right? So never do this, especially not with penny stocks. So my recommendation overall is that I would recommend to buy in Mullen if you think that the stock is not going to go bankrupt whether it's in a month or in a few months or in a few years. So if you have this kind of confidence, then I would say go for it. If not, then stay aside and maybe look for other opportunities. But the thing is, I certainly don't recommend shorting Mullen at this current point because it's already pretty low. You would have to incur financial fees as long as those positions are open. And if it just go up by like 10 cents, which is really not much, but the position would be down by 50%. And, there will be a lot of pressure for you to redeem those shares, which in the process pushes pushes like the share price upward. Now, regarding how much I would recommend to pay for Mullen, I would say anything that's below 30 cents can be a decent price to enter, and the exposure should be maintained below 1%, and the spread across, I would say, 3 to 6 months, to say the least.